What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James, man. I'm back in the building, and I got a good special guest today. Special guest today. My guy, Connor Livesay, Mr. Draft Guy, Mr. Cowboys Guy. He's out there, man. He be out there doing his hunting thing, but I was able to pull him away from all that hunting and doing all that Cowboys. But now we're going to talk about some Cowboys. What's up, Bushy Dog?
I'm great, man. It's been a few years since I've been on with you, so excited to get back on with you and talk some ball.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time since we had it, but you know what's so good about it? It came at a perfect time because the main reason why y'all that are basically coming in the building, I brought in Connor because he been going ham on Mike McCarthy, dog, and I need to find out reasons why. He been going ham on Mike McCarthy, and we're gonna have to just get it out now. I said we got to talk because you just been going ham, but obviously Mike McCarthy's here. Kellen Moore's gone. We see the dynamic has changed. Now tell me what when Kellen Moore left, what was your frustration about that?
I mean, I think I've on Twitter, we've talked about that a little bit. Like, I don't think Kellen Moore was like some genius by any means. A lot of people claim he's the next coming of Christ, whatever, and I think that's over the top too. Do I think Kellen Moore's a good offensive coordinator? Yes, I do. I think that he had his flaws. I think he had trouble when defenses were a little bit better and tighter and could man coverage, cover your guys up. He had trouble finding those easy buttons throughout the passing game, and the running game stuff was something he always struggled with from the start. He didn't have some awesome, innovative running game. It was a lot of basic running schemes, not a ton of motion. That's something that we saw improve last week. That's been a little boring for this year too, but a lot of staleness with Kellen Moore, which led to Mike McCarthy taking over. And that staleness got worse to start. Obviously, you bring me on a week where I think Mike McCarthy and this offense had the best showing of the year.
Right.
A lot of the issues that they had pre-bye, they fixed post-bye. And again, we're only one game in. We could get to Philly next week and go back to that week 4 offense, week 5 offense, our hair out. We've seen that happen a lot, but they were near the bottom of the league, 32nd in the league, if I'm not mistaken, in motion at the snap and pre-snap motion. That was up like 5%, 5 times the amount that they had been doing. So the post-bye week motion percentages were up. Usage was up 5 times, which is awesome. The movement of CeeDee Lamb solely like out of that slot role and getting him more X receiver snaps is something that we talked about on our podcast last week. While Jalen Tolbert's snap count increased a lot, Michael Gallup's went down, but Michael Gallup was your X guy for so long. So you're getting a lot of those one-on-one matchups with Michael Gallup, which is why he was seeing so many of those targets. Don't get me wrong, CeeDee Lamb's great in the slot, but man, when you want to get your guy versus their guy one-on-one and get him the ball, that's moving him out to the X and getting him out there on that one-on-one in those 3-by-1 formations. And they did a really good job at that last week. They did a lot of really things that we've been complaining about and talking about that we need to see change. They changed them and they did it. And that's why I think you saw the best offensive output we've seen so far this year.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, we saw, the frustration when we talked about the Cardinals game and even the San Francisco game. Do you think it's a situation, because we saw the switch and the improvement, do you think it's a situation where is it big games? Is it you get it close to the vest when these big games come and you're coaching it tightly and you're not doing those things, you're just doing things to try to get you the win? Because when I've seen us play against the Patriots and these other teams that I feel like we know we're kind of better than, then I feel like we're pedal to the metal. And then when I feel like we're playing a team where this could be a tight game, I'm not gonna try to do that. I don't want to lose the game. So let's kind of keep this close to the vest. Have you noticed that this season? And that's one of the reasons why the staleness has happened in the offense.
I don't even know if it's a this season thing. I feel like this has been a common thing for 3 or 4 years at this point. And that was something with Kellen that we noticed and something with Mike. It seems like when you're not, the odds-on favorite to have the better team, have the, advantage to win that game, it seems like they get a little conservative. And I mean, man, we saw that in San Francisco when they went into halftime with, the ability to really, they had a chance to take a shot at the end zone. They didn't. They had, we've seen that throughout the year where they've called timeout. They haven't used timeouts when they had timeouts in their back pocket to try to get points. We've seen them, take a knee going into halftime with the ability to, maybe get in field goal range. I just think that the team, offense and defense, just plays a little scared at times when they aren't favorite to win. And I don't know if that, maybe scared is the wrong word. Maybe it's just they play with that tightness that we've talked about. This, but I'm one of Dak Prescott's biggest fans. I've said multiple times, like when he goes into a big game, whether it's him being amped up, whether it's him being tight, he'll start off those games shaky a lot. He did it in San Francisco. He missed Luke Schoonmaker. He got open on a nice route, and he sailed the ball.
And that could have been big in the first part of the game. If we could have got that first incompletion, sure. I mean, that could have changed, because that was like a 15, 16-yard game. That changes the game to me.
Sure, absolutely. And like I said, that's something Dak's got to do better at. He's got to either – and that's one thing we go into some of these – like this matchup coming up, people go, oh, you can't treat this like it's just any other game. Sometimes I think they overhype these games, which gets the whole team, again, like you've played sports.
They play tight. They play tight because they overhype it. Exactly.
Yeah. And again, like I do it, I coach a pretty competitive travel baseball team. And when we go up against, nationally ranked programs, you talk about how good they are and how you can't make mistakes and how big the game is. And then you go in and you walk guys, you make simple errors that you normally don't make. And it's like, sometimes I feel like just going in the game and be like, this is just week 9, we're week 9 in a 17-game season. What really, if we lose this game, we still got 8 more games to play, and it's like, sometimes I think that approach is almost better for teams. I guess it just depends what your team's mentality is. Some of these teams, I think, get fired up for that. Some teams, San Francisco, we saw how much they were ready to go into Dallas and or ready to play Dallas in San Francisco. Had George Kittle with the T-shirt and all that.
Right.
Like, some teams thrive on that be feeling like the underdog or feeling like you got to punch this team in the mouth. And some teams, I think, don't mentally handle that as well. So from what I've seen, I think they should almost treat this week like it's any other week, the Philadelphia week. They said play San Francisco, give them the playoffs. Sometimes I think when they go into the media and they're talking about how big this game is for the team's mentality and, that having to prove themselves, that they belong on the field with these teams. I just feel like it never pans out the way that we hope it does. And I don't know if that's a Mike McCarthy thing, if that's a quarterback thing, if that's just the leaders of this team, that they haven't figured out how to handle that pressure, I guess, as well as they should.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. And just like you said, this game it's a big game, but it's not ending your season. No. If you did lose this game, I mean, like I said, we're in the gauntlet of 7 straight NFC games. I've been letting everybody know that. So if you lose this game, you still have another 5 games in the NFC that you can easily come back and win those games, and you're still in the mix, because we just already seen in the NFL the last 3 weeks, it's any given Sunday. Yeah. The Chiefs just got their butts kicked by the Denver Broncos. You feel me? The San Francisco 49ers on a 3-game losing streak now. You get what I'm saying? We're seeing each week. And then we just had the devastating injury from Kirk Cousins with the Minnesota Vikings. So we see that it changes from week to week. So this is not going to kill you. But I think, I just feel like that conservative is tight. I think, like you said, it's the overhyping of the game. We got to prove that we're the guys. And because of that, they play tightly, because they feel, I don't know if they feel like they have to prove to the national world. You ain't got to prove nothing, dog. You just got to win this damn game, like you said, 1 game at a time. But let's go back to this offense with Mike McCarthy. So you were talking about pre-snap, post-snap. What has been your biggest gripe with his offense? Because you had said a lot of stuff on Twitter, but what has been your biggest beef with Mike McCarthy with this offense? Because it also looked like in this game, this prior game, that Dak had a lot more control of the offense. I mean, he was up at the line of scrimmage. He was changing things. It looked like he had the control that we were wanting to see when I seen him in the preseason. It was like, okay, that's what we talking about. Then it's like it went away. And people were like, is he handcuffing Dak? I mean, what do you think is going on with that dynamic, and why did it open up this time?
I think you go back to Green Bay and see that the offense that Mike McCarthy normally likes to run, it's his end all be all, as simple as it gets, slant flat. West Coast principles where you're trying to get guys moving east to west. It's a timing based offense, and that's the frustrating thing with the fans that And you said this on Twitter this morning, I think it was, and I agreed with you. Like, I think there's a lot of people in the media, a lot of people that cover, analyze football nowadays who like Twitter followers is like they feel like they can talk to, and again, like anybody on Twitter, if you get talked to disrespectfully, you're going to respond normally disrespectful. But one thing that's just frustrating is like I feel like so many fans are like, oh, why is he, like he'd hit the back foot and throw the ball, maybe tighten the coverage to Michael Gallup on a slant. Well, on the West Coast timing based offense, it's about hitting your back foot and getting the ball out. It's not like you're scanning the field, going through your progressions, 1, 2, 3, hitting that. So a lot of times people would take screenshots of plays, and the slant on the backside would be wide open, but the out would be covered, and they'd throw it to the out. And like that's how Mike McCarthy's offense has been and is always ran. It's a timing-based, quick hitting offense. So you're not a 1, 2, 3 progression offense. A lot of times you're a one read offense unless that's covered up, and then you're just checking it down. So there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of short, his average depth of target was the lowest it's been since Scott Linehan's first year. I want to say it was his first year, was his lowest depth of target. So all the numbers were down. We saw them come out this week. They were stretching the field more vertical. They were taking advantage of that deeper passing game in the middle of the field. The first touchdown to Jake Ferguson was that seam ball that we haven't seen. We've seen them attempt it a few times, but man, that was like the go-to play last year where they'd hit that seam ball at that 20-yard line point in the red zone, and they were scoring on it a lot. But they did that a lot more. They used more posts, and they were doing slants, which I thought was good because it was stressing some of the linebackers' leverage. They were using play action more. They were using the motion more to kind of leverage defenders into a certain gap or area. So I saw a lot of improvements from pre-buy to post-buy that give me a lot of hope. But going back to your original question, I just think it's a lot of static that we see from the McCarthy offense up until this week. It's a lot of, you're not seeing the 3-by-1 or the bunch formations. You're seeing, 3 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 1 running back.
Right,
or,
the same basic, same basic offense.
Right, it's the same looks a lot, and a lot of it's the same routes. It's they're hammering the slants, they're hammering the outs, they're hammering that quick out from the tight end. And it's just there wasn't a lot of creativity, there wasn't a lot of change up from your personnel packages and all that. And I think we saw that more. We saw more of the quick play action game. Which is things we like to see. The quick game, I think, should always live off of play action because it gets guys open in space. It gets guys, those free 3, 4, 5, 6 yards. Then you can benefit after the catch. So we saw a lot of good improvements this week. Like I said, it's 1 week. We need to cross our fingers that it keeps up. But the issue, the pre-bye week, was the lack of motion. It was the static offense. Not getting defenders to have to react to anything pre-snap or at the snap, and then a lot of the simple routes. And the most frustrating thing is you had Gallup lining up at the X on like 87% of the snaps. I want to say it was something high like that. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but he was taking over 80% of the snaps at X receiver, which means you had a receiver on the outside getting one-on-one looks that can't win at the line, can't win at the catch point. Is it winning as a route runner? So you're wasting a lot of throws and passing reps throwing it to Michael Gallup. So that's a lot of changes from pre-buy to post-buy, but I like a lot of things that we saw.
Yeah, I like it too. Let's talk about this offense as a whole. First of all, let's talk about this offensive line. All right, so I've been vocal. I'm not going to just beat him up, but Tyron Smith, I mean, he was hurt again. Our offensive line is not a physical offensive line. I've been saying this. Our run game has been static, and people are like, well, they've been talking about the Derrick Henry, and Leonard Fournette, and I've been saying it doesn't matter if the Cowboys get a big physical back. Doesn't matter if the offensive line isn't being physical at the point of attack. So you can get a big back, he's not going to do anything and go anywhere. Now, do you think that the Cowboys will even look at a running back? I mean, the trade deadline's right here, right now. I still would love to see Dalvin Cook because he's disgruntled over there in the New York Jets, and I still feel like he can help the team down the line. But do you think that they would even look at somebody? And if not, what do you think the Cowboys going to look like going forward in this run game? And what's going on with Rico Dowdell? Is he on a pitch count? Is he injured? Why can't he get more carries in this offense?
I mean, honestly, I think your issue right now is your running game scheme. And again, I think a lot of the things they're doing in the running game is a lot of things they've been doing for the last couple of years. Which again, we've seen Tony Pollard have a lot of success running this football, but he's coming off a pretty severe foot injury that isn't something to kind of shake a stick at and forget about. I personally don't think. I mean, I think you could bring. I'm trying to think of Christian. Obviously, if you have a guy like Christian McCaffrey or one of those guys, you're probably going to see a little bit uptick in the run success. But I think it's a lot based on right now your offensive line not playing great, your offensive scheme and the running game not being great. And again, truthfully, like I think that's something we saw a little bit better of last week. But I think they were running the ball in a lot of early down running scenarios, and teams knew it was coming and was able to stop it. And they kind of got out of that some this week. They didn't totally go out on first and second down and run the ball and give defenses the flag of what's coming. And that might be I'm always pro throw over run just because I feel like most of the time that's more successful, especially for this football team. But I think your best bet at getting the running game back on track is throwing the ball with more success and more often. And then you hear so many people, you got to run the ball successfully to throw the ball successfully. I almost think they need to flip it. They need to get that passing game hitting on all cylinders, get those safeties dropped back into too deep, scenarios. And then you can start banging the rock a little bit more and probably having more success finding space increases in the running game. So I think the success of the passing game is going to help the offensive running game success, which I feel like is you hear that flipped so much. If you run the ball well, then you can open up the passing game. And I think for them, it's probably going to flip a little bit because of the way defenses are playing them and how, lack of creative their running game's been the last couple of years.
I totally agree with that. And I was even saying that in this Eagles game, that this might have to be a game where Dak might throw about 40 times in this game. This might have to be that game.
You ain't gonna run the ball against them.
Yeah, you feel me? That's not and like I said, I'm already know, Connor, if we're going in there conservative, we're going aggressive. If I see them start off a first and second down and they start with Tony Pollard running up the middle, I'm already going to know, okay, yep, they scared. He coaching scary because you need to come out there, like you said, guns ablazing. I really believe that. I agree with you, and maybe even going forward because the way the scheme is set up and the way our run game is and the players we have, I feel like you do have to the pass has to set up the run with this offense. You really, because when this team gets really cooking, when we're really attacking offensively, when Lamb is getting in the ball early, Ferguson, those guys are getting the ball early, then you see those rush lanes open for the Rico Dowdell to finally hit up the middle and then to get a 7-8 yard gain. And then Tony Pollard, because we saw it in the second half, Tony Pollard, and then we're starting to get longer gains when they were coming off the middle because Dak was attacking them in the passing game and it made them back up. And I feel like going forward, like you said, that has to be the flip. I feel like the Cowboys really need to come out aggressively throwing the ball to make this team's back up because it's not a offense like a Miami Dolphins where there's tons of motion. It's kind of right. This is what it is. It's in your face. So you understand what it is. So really, we got to have successful to have them back off. I totally agree with you because it just feels like teams, when they come out there to guard us, they know what we're going to do.
Yeah. And again, like I think last week's another good example. I mean, I know they didn't set the world on fire running the football, but Tony Pollard had 12 rushes for 53 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. Not super something crazy, but it's not bad. If you're running for 4.4 yards per carry, you're like, all right, that's pretty good. Dowdle had 5 carries for 18 yards. So, but again, they were up huge that whole game, and had 31 dropbacks from Dak. 3 from Cooper Rush, obviously playing most of the fourth quarter. Only 17 rushes combined between Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle. So, again, as much as I've killed Mike McCarthy, he came out in week 8. Up big most of the game and stayed on the gas. He kept throwing the football. He didn't get into the first, second down runs and then just hope you would convert on third down. He kept the foot on the gas. And I think that's their best bet going forward right now is just continue to lean on the passing game, continue to let, the quarterback and again, like I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this offense is like fixed and resolved, but I think that your quarterback's playing really well. I think your wide receiver 1 is playing the best football of his career, and you're having some development from Jake Ferguson there. So rely on those three guys, in early and late downs to move the football, get ahead of the chains. And, you don't have to that run on 4 yards on first down, it might feel good, but if you can get 7 on first down because you threw the ball to Jake, Ferguson on play action, or you hit CeeDee Lamb on a slant across the middle, like that's still a better result. So.
Yes, I totally agree. Now, there was I looked and I've seen some as well that looks like Jalen Tolbert is starting to eat into Michael Gallup's snaps. I was talking about that before the season even started in training camp, that, the way Jalen Tolbert has been looking, I felt like he was going to do that anyway. And this will probably may start, if he really started to really turn up, this could be the start of the trend of maybe you not seeing Gallup in the future if Tolbert gets his shine. Now, I don't know about you, but anytime Tolbert has caught the ball this season, he has done something with it. He has looked even confident, even though he's not really been getting the ball. He's been looking confident. Do you agree that we should see more Jalen Tolbert and a little bit less of Michael Gallup continuing going forward for this team to be even more effective offensively?
Yeah, and it's not even like you said. Like I feel like if they gave Tolbert Gallup's reins and just said, "Hey, we're benching Gallup. He's not playing, and he's playing only a couple snaps a game." Like I feel like Tolbert would be fine there, but obviously that's not going to happen. I don't even think that should happen. It just needs to be more of a 50-50 split between those guys. But the great thing with getting Tolbert into that snap count is they can do different things with Tolbert that they can't do with Gallup. Gallup can't move into the slot and run some of that route tree. Gallup can't go out to the Z and run some of those things on the strong side of the formation where Gallup's an X. He's a pure X. He can go on the field. He can run some of the slants. He can run some of the posts. He can run, 9 routes. But you can put Tolbert on the field as an X, a Y, a Z, and, have him line up all over the formation. You can use him in motion a lot more. Even if you want to hand him the football from the backfield, you can do that. So I think just getting Tolbert on the field and being able to utilize his diversity as a route runner, his diversity as where he can line up on the field, I think is going to help this offense anyways, because it can get guys lined up, can get CD out to X, it can get Cooks in the slot, it can kind of let you use your weapons in a variety of roles and not just have that static 3, have CD in the slot, Brandon at the Z, and Gallup. That's what we were seeing so much of at the start of the year, and there was no diversity in that formation or the grouping that they were putting in. So getting Tolbert on the field, Tolbert can play multiple spots. You can have CD bounce from the X to the inside. We've seen Cooks get out to the X some and run some 9 routes and win on 9 routes from that X spot. So you can move those guys around a lot more with those 3 receivers on the field than you can if Gallup's one of those guys, just because of how limited he is as a route runner and how limited he is with with his yards after the catch and ability to just make plays with or without the ball in his hands. So I think Tolbert's impact that he can make, even when he's not being thrown the ball or even when he's not getting targeted, is just, it brings a different dynamic to this offense that it's been lacking.
I totally agree. And you can see it when he's in the game. That's what the excitement is like. Oh, just keep him in the game, because just like you said, he adds a different versatility to the team because he can do so many different things. And he's not a small guy. You know what I mean? He's not a small type receiver. And I just love the versatility. And it just seems like, man, I could just really see him kind of really like, damn, like later in the season, like this offense is really looking explosive and he could be the key. Because like you said, now if he's able to get more burn and he's able to catch the ball more, I'm telling you, CeeDee Lamb's going to be even better. CeeDee Lamb's and those guys are going to be even better if Tolbert can really get some serious burn in this offense. So I hope going forward, this wasn't just a one-time thing. I hope this is something that continues to elevate, because this offense will elevate the more Tolbert gets to burn on this team. Now, let's flip it to the defensive side right quick. Talk to me about this defense, man. It hasn't been bad, right? But, it's kind of tailed off a little bit. Kind of what's your thoughts of where the defense is at, even with Quinn? How do you feel about the defense going forward and even in this Philly game?
I mean, honestly, I felt a lot better about it last week, but, obviously San Francisco, they really had struggles. I thought they struggled more in Los Angeles against the Chargers than the scoreboard and stat sheet. Herbert missed like 3 or 4 just giving throws that he's going to make, So I didn't feel great after watching the tape against the Chargers because I felt like even though they held them to a relatively low output, and the statistics, the stat sheet didn't, wow you by any means. I felt like, if Herbert's on his
we kind of escaped that one.
Yeah, we got lucky on some of those. They were 3 or 4 plays away from probably losing that game, and then you're really not in a good spot. So it was nice to see. And again, like something that we talked about as offense, it seems to have in the defense is they come out and they start slow a lot. I mean, the Rams' first drive of the game, they ended it in a field goal, but man, they pretty much went right down the field, hit on some big plays. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are getting involved. They were running the ball a little bit. So the start of that game Sunday, I was kind of like, damn, here we go again. This defense is kind of, it's scratching and clawing to get by, but they really turned it on. I mean, again, Deron Bland's playing fantastic. I thought this was Stephon Gilmore's best game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We know the pass rush for the most part is always going to be there. It's when you play the San Francisco type of offenses that aren't going to sit there and stay in drop back game, take those 5-7 step drops. It's going to be a lot of quick hitters. It's going to be a lot of crossing routes. Those are the teams that kind of scare me, just because it doesn't give your pass rush the time to take over the game. So the pass rush I think is always going to be there. You got Micah Parsons, who's obviously a freak. You got DeMarcus Lawrence, who's playing really, really well. You got Osa Odighizuwa. You got depth with Dante Fowler. You got guys playing well. There on the front line. I think your linebackers are playing much better. I don't know if it's a position switch for Damone Clark, but since he's kind of moved spots and taken over LVE's spot, I think he's played his best football yet.
Yes.
And then Marquise Bell, he's a smaller guy. Everybody knows he's a safety, but I mean, I think he's a guy that if he's able to just run and chase and hit, he's going to be really good. If he's going to have to fight and get off blocks like we saw him have to do sometimes in the Arizona game, sometimes have to do in the San Francisco game, he's going to have a few more struggles. But if he can be kept clean and he can run and chase and hit, he's going to be a quality player too. I think PFF has him graded as like the number 1 linebacker in the National Football League right now, which you can take that multiple ways if you really wanted to. I don't think I'd say that he's the best linebacker in the National Football League. But I think that he's a guy that you don't mind playing, a lot of snaps right now because he's doing a really good job at it. And like I said, I've been impressed with Damone Clark. I thought Damone Clark was the guy that we were, looking to sit on the bench and take off the field because of how, bad he was looking to start the year. But it might just be moving him over to that middle line, which you wouldn't think so with his style of play coming out of college. You think he'd be better in that weak side linebacker role. But since taking over and playing that more of the middle, Mike linebacker, middle linebacker, I mean, they're playing 2 linebackers most of the time. So it's not like he's your true traditional 4-3 Mike, but he's playing more of that responsibility. I thought he's looked a lot better playing that kind of newer role that he's been put into.
I agree. I mean, ever since LVEs went down and he's basically had to switch roles, he's been more active. He's been more physical. It looks like he's been a little bit more physical at the point of attack, and I've been liking it. And I've been loving how Marquise Bell is playing, but I'm just worried about teams figuring that out and getting these guys to the second level. You mentioned to get with the Cardinals. I mean, he's doing great now, but he's still light. He's only 208 pounds. That will eventually get exposed if these teams figure that out, especially getting to that second level, because he's not going to be able to take over those guards and those type of players, those guards, the tackles, getting out to that second level. So the Cowboys got to continue to hide him and continue to kind of keep him moving around where you can't really get a beat on him, so he can use his speed to really make plays. But I got the let's talk about this Eagles game right quick. I'm not going to keep you forever, but I want to talk about this Eagles game. It's getting ready to come up.
Yeah.
We're headed out to Philly. It is a bigger game because obviously we know what's kind of at stake just between the teams. So what's your kind of thoughts? I mean, let's talk about the Philly offense right now. Obviously, the thing I want to point out is, I hope the excuses don't come, but Jalen Hurts, I did see him get hurt. He had the knee brace. It looked like in this past game, he did not really want to run the ball. It looked like he did not want to get out of that pocket and run. So I don't know if that was the knee the Washington Commanders, they kind of have Philly's number as well as far as guarding them. They did a real good job as far as guarding that offense. But we've seen A.J. Brown, who's playing crazy out of his mind right now. Yeah. They still got Devontae Smith. Obviously, they got Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift. Kind of talk about what do you think the Cowboys need to do to really stop or slow down this Philadelphia offense?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Philly plays against Dallas because they've been more pass heavy over these last couple weeks than we're used to seeing. A lot of times we're seeing them run the football a lot and kind of use their passing game as an extension from their run game, but they've kind of gone away from that because that knee injury from Jalen Hurts. I'm sure they don't want him running a lot of zone read, and, being a guy who's a run first quarterback. But their passing game was really good last week against Washington. Obviously, Washington's passing defense has been a very big struggle for them so far. I think A.J. Brown, outside of Tyreek Hill, might be the best wide receiver in the game right now with Justin Jefferson hurt. He's just a dude that can line up anywhere on the field. He can make plays in all three levels of the field. He can make plays after the catch. I mean, you watch a receiver play right now that makes the crazy catches he makes, the one-handed catches, the catches over his head, the catches below his feet. I mean, the guy just makes every time the ball's thrown his way, it's getting caught for the most part. But I'm not going to lie, I do like this matchup for Stephon Gilmore because while A.J. Brown's a freaky guy, he's not the speed demon that I think gives Stephon Gilmore a little trouble. I mean, he makes plays on athleticism and physicality, but not so much straight line speed. So I think that Stephon Gilmore can match up with him. And I'm not him down, but he should be able to kind of control the impact he can have on that game. I'm sure Brown's still going to get his. And I do like Bland's matchup against Devontae Smith. A guy
I really want to see that matchup.
Yeah, that's going to be. I mean, again, it's not like Gilmore and Bland are going to follow those two guys around. They're each going to see reps against both of them. But I think that if you look at it that way, where you'll probably get a lot of reps with what I'm worried about, and what I hope doesn't happen is that I hope that they don't go heavy A.J. Brown in the slot this week against Jordan Lewis.
Right.
We've seen A.J. Brown play a decent amount on the slot throughout his career. And that's one thing that I wouldn't want to see because I do think A.J. Brown's size and explosiveness and physicality in the slot against Jordan Lewis could give this team some problems. But like I said, if they're going to stay that drop back game, the Philadelphia offense does do more of a deeper drop back game. They're not a quick hitter by any means. So I think that, if this pass rush and the Eagles offense line is fantastic, I think this is the first time this pass rush is going to have the opportunity to rush the passer. Unlike the Cardinals game and the San Francisco game, it's a lot of getting the ball out quick. It's a lot of quick hitters. It's tough to kind of get home as a pass rush. I think that this week they'll have the opportunity to do so, but you're going up against an offensive line that is dominant. So it's going to give them a shot to go one-on-one against probably the best offensive line unit in the league, and they're going to get to test their strengths against another team's strengths and see who can win it.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. Like I said, I would love to see that Deron Bland, Devontae Smith matchup. I mean, Bland is playing out of his mind right now. What a godsend pick he was, right? I mean, I ain't going to lie. I wasn't even thinking about him on the radar, like the Cowboys even needed a corner, as far as when you were looking at the draft, what they were really going to address. And so for him to fall where he fell and doing what he's doing is absolutely crazy. It hurts so bad right now, Connor, is that Trevin Diggs is out. How much better would this defense even be if you had Diggs playing right now with Bland going crazy? Because Diggs was really looking like he was going to take his game to another level this year by the way he was kind of playing this year. Oh, man. And then I just feel like those three guys would have been great. But I agree with you. Hopefully the Gilly matchup goes with Brown because, as you said, I've been watching Gilly this year. He's definitely been playing well, but speed receivers have gave him an issue, especially going across the field, have really kind of gave him a tough bind. And A.J. Brown, he's bigger. He's 230 pounds, so he's not going to have that type of speed that you're going to deal with, and it'll be easier for Gilly to be able to use his experience against him. So we'll see how kind of that goes. Now, do you think they'll go – do they really think they'll attack with the DeAndre Swift? Do you think they really will come out and try to pound us early with the run game, or do you think they will kind of try to attack us through the air? Because you said that they've been throwing more, but do you think they'll come out this game and really try to see where we're at in the run game?
I think they're going to come out with some balance and just figure out what's working. They might try Swift early and see, because that's something that Philadelphia, I say it all the time, and people get mad at me because it's giving them credit, but they are so good about coming out and just figuring out what the other team's not good at and then hammering that. Washington can't cover, they can't cover. So they came out and threw the ball over the yard yesterday. I think Swift ended with like 14 carries or something like that, but they threw it a lot. the week prior against the Jets, they had to throw it a lot because they were down corners and they knew they couldn't run it a lot. So it was like, they do a very good job of figuring out what's going to work for them early in the game or throughout the practice week, and then they pretty much spam that, which is the way it should be. You should build your team to where, hey, if we're playing an elite coverage team, let's come out and run the ball. And they have the ability to do that. Like I said, I think they've shied away from the run a little bit these last couple of weeks because of the Hurts injury and not wanting to show him as a zone read quarterback or running option. So, I think you'll see a little bit of balance from them because I think they, if things are hitting on all cylinders for them, they should be able to find some success running the football and find success throwing the football. So they might come out and try to run it a little early and see what their success is looking like. And then if it's not working, they'll probably go away from it and go to the pass. It's just, can this pass rush beat these tackles? I mean, they have the two best tackles, I think, in the NFL, and Sue Malu and Lane Johnson, right tackle, left tackle, just two really good players. And then, their interior has been good. I think that's the area you'd like to win in. They got some younger guys in the interior there that I think, obviously Kelsey's great, but their two guards are some younger guys that I think you can find some success against if you can get home and rush the passer, which is something we're going to have to see this unit do.
Yeah, definitely. Now let's flip to the side right quick for the Cowboys offense. We obviously talked about it earlier in the show. What do you think the Cowboys really need to do to really attack this defense? They say, obviously they have injuries on their front. They went and got Kevin Byard, but they said Jalen Carter is dealing with a little bit of a back injury. We'll see how that goes as it progresses during the week, because that would be huge if that would keep him out the game, because we've seen what he is so far this year. What do you feel like the Cowboys need to do on the offensive side to really put this Eagles defense on its heels?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the strength of that Eagles defense is their front four. We know that. We know that James Bradbury isn't have as quite a good season this year as he had last year. We know that, they had some injuries at that nickel spot. Their safeties haven't been great. That's why they went out and made the trade last week for Kevin Byard. But we know that the Cowboys offense can find some success in the middle of the field passing the football. You need your tight ends and your receivers to be able to win, up the seams and in the middle of that field. But yeah, stopping what you said, that pass rush is something that you're going to have to put focus on and doing. You're going to have to stop if Jalen Carter plays, the Jalen Carters, the Jordan Davises, the Hassan Reddicks, the Josh Sweats. I mean, they have four guys. They got deep. They're deep there. They can cycle guys in and out just like you can. But their front four guys that they're going to put on the field and make you stop are going to be tough to stop. We don't know if Tyron Smith's going to play this week. That's kind of the one thing we got circled right now to figure out if he's going to play, and if he plays, how healthy he'll be. That's something that we've had to deal with for a couple of years now. So it came out today that Chuma Edoga didn't have a high ankle sprain. He had a low ankle sprain. So, there's a chance that he might be able to go this week, if he's able to stay off the ankle and rest it. But any way you line it up, you're going to have a tough day at the office. And it's just about, it's about your quarterback avoiding some of the negative plays, whether that's the sacks or the fumbles in the pocket, getting the ball out, and then finding some sense of offensive game plan to maybe get the pocket moved and get him, out of the pocket, get away from pressure, and then get the ball out like he did last week against the Rams. He was able to use his legs, create some own throwing lanes on his own, get out of trouble, and create some easy opportunities for throws, even though he was dealing with pressure consistently. So I think moving the pocket around a little bit, stressing the edges of that defense with maybe some wide receiver, handoffs and jet sweeps, not letting those guys just pin their ears back and get up the field. Getting CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks a couple of jet sweeps or end arounds or something like that to really hold those edges from really rushing up the field, I think would be a good idea. And then we talked about it earlier, but last thing I want to see is them come out first and second down and run it straight up the middle right at, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. Like, that's not going to work this week. So your runs need to be schemed up to kind of threaten the edge. You need to get some tight ends, moving and blocking and out of motion, get those guys moving and stressing some of those linebackers' leverages. There's ways you can attack this Philly defense. Their linebackers aren't great cover guys. Anytime you can get Zach Cunningham in coverage, you need to be throwing the ball his way. He's a guy that really struggles in coverage. Nakobe Dean hasn't been as good coming out of college as we thought he would be. So anything you can do to stress those linebackers' leverages and make them cover and run, they need to really focus on. Running some of those mesh plays that we've seen them incorporate a little bit more, just getting those guys having to communicate and talk and cover, I think is key. But also, like I said, just stressing that you can't let those edges get up the field and really disrupt the passing and running game. I think you gotta give them some eye candy. You got to give them some plays that really make them read and react instead of being able to just pin their ears back and go.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen to what Connor's saying, because he's saying the perfect game plan, in my opinion. You're saying the perfect game plan. And also, I hear my guy also says screens. Yes, because getting those guys upfield, hit Tony Pollard, I don't know if Deuce Vaughn will be active this game. That'd be a perfect game to hit little Deuce in some little quick screen games right quick. Don't try to run him, but hit him in some quick screen games or put him in there to deceive people. You feel me, Connor? Like you were saying, give the illusion. Don't make it so obvious when you come to the line of scrimmage. And like you said, let those ends, because I'm going to keep it real. I think Terrence Steele and whoever's going to be on that left side are going to be in for a long-ass day. I'm just, from my opinion, they're going to be in a long-ass day. And Dak is going to have to be the game, just like he did in that Chargers game. He's going to have to be running around, scrambling. If there's an opening, if there's lanes, rush lanes open in that pass game, keep doing what you've been doing, because this is what I've been seeing also, Connor. The last two games when Dak hasn't just been sitting there trying to hold the ball, look for the ball, and then take a bad sack. No, he's getting out of that pocket. He's using his feet. Hey, if it's 2 or 3 yards, I got to get to first down. I'm going to go get it so we survive another series so we can keep it moving. That's what I've been missing from Dak, and that's what I'm finally seeing from him. And it's making the offense so much better, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see Dak, like you said, move in the pocket. But if that pocket collapse, run. Because when you do that, our team is better, because now it's a little bit more of a threat that they're looking at, that, oh, he might run, so let's kind of hold it. And it's helping the team out, in my opinion. What's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a game they've actually come out and said it, that they'll use his legs more in games that, maybe are a little more important in the playoffs. It's a long season. We've heard that a lot of times. So I think this is a game where you might see them, run that zone read down in the offense or down in the red zone. And, you'll see him pull the ball to kind of give that offense a spark. You mentioned it. We don't have Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson as the tackles. So you're not going to, as much as we believe in this passing game is the best way for it to run, you're not going to be able to get out there and run 5-7 step drops and really just torch him down the field. I mean, maybe you will. Maybe you'll have Terrence Steele show up. I mean, he's had a rough start to the year. It hasn't been pretty from him. Maybe he'll come out, play a really good game. He seems to show up in big moments a lot of the time. So maybe Steele will come out, play a little bit better. Maybe you'll get a healthy Tyron Smith back this week and be able to do that. But if not, like you said, using Dak's legs, moving the pocket around, having him just escape pressure, something we've seen him do really well outside of the first drive on Sunday against the Rams. He's stepped up. He stepped out of trouble. He's held on. I mean, the one thing that I just thought he did such a good job on Sunday against the Rams is he held onto the ball just long enough to let things develop. The was a perfect example. He was about 0.2 of a second away from getting strip sacked, but he was also had to hold on to the ball that long to let Cooks really open up, to know exactly where he was going to be in the open, how open he was going to be and hit him in the end zone. So I think he's doing a good job right now of playing on time and playing with that right mentality of not taking the negative plays, moving the football, more aggressively, targeting the areas of the field we want to see him target. So I think he's doing a really good job. I do think that, like I said, this Eagles defense can get beat in the middle of the field. They went out and got Kevin Byard because they are worried about teams beating them up the middle of the field deep. And letting him maybe, be a little bit better impact player in the middle of the field than they were getting from their safeties with how bad their linebackers are. But I think that you can target these linebackers. I think you can target the middle of the field. You should have success doing that. They can't get too conservative with the running game early that gets them behind the chains and has them in 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 10 consistently, because that's not a recipe for success against this Eagles pass rush.
Yeah, we definitely can't get behind the sticks, and we always seem to play better with leads. So not getting down by 10 to 14 points early is also going to be key as well. But that's going to go to that conservatism. So, last question here. What do you think is going to be the outcome in this game? I know it's tough because we don't never know what Dallas Cowboys team is going to show the hell up.
The only thing they're consistent about is being inconsistent. That's the theme that I always say for years. But I truly, and this isn't. I mean, again, you've known me long enough. I'm not a homer by any means. I'm probably more pessimistic on this team than
Hmm.
most people, but they've kind
I'm
of
with you. I'm with you.
they've driven that into my brain, so it's not my fault. But I do think that this team matches up really well with Philly.
Right.
Philly. I mean, again, like I compliment Philly just as much as I compliment Dallas because I look at the NFL as the NFL and not a Cowboys fan. And I love a lot of the way the Eagles play football and the things the Eagles do. Um, but I do think that this team matches up pretty well with them. I do think that they've had success against beating Philadelphia these last couple of years, and I do think that when you look at this Eagles season as a whole, outside of that Miami game, which just really was the Miami offense kind of kicking itself around for a little bit, the Eagles haven't played great football yet. Um, they've played a lot of similar games week in, week out. They had the chance to lose to Washington. They lost to the Jets. They've lost some games, close games, because they didn't play good, and they should have lost a couple more games because they didn't play good. So they haven't played great football yet this year, which is a testament to them being a good team because they haven't played great football and they're 7-1,
Right.
whatever they are. So it's without them playing good football, they're still having really good results. But I think that if this Cowboys team can come out and play the games that we've seen them play for most of this season, I think that the Cowboys will win. I think it'll be relatively close game. Like I said, I'm not going to say that the Cowboys offense is 100% fixed and going to be back to scoring 40 points a game on average. But I do think the Cowboys win this one 28-24, just because I've seen a lot of inconsistencies with this Eagles offense. If Jalen Hurts is a little banged up and they're not able to use his legs to really impact the game that way, which we've seen this Cowboys team struggle stopping that, and if that's limited because of the knee injury, then I think that's a big favor in the Cowboys, hands. But I got a 28-24 Dallas, and I think that's like I said, that's not even a biased Homer Cowboys fan take. That's just truly, like I said, I think that the way that this offense can attack the Eagles defense kind of fits into their favor. And then the Eagles offense has just been very inconsistent, and they haven't faced the defense yet like Dallas. So if Dallas's defense shows up and plays like we know what's capable of doing, I think that the Cowboys should win this game.
I agree with that, and but my thing is just like you said, which Cowboys team is going to show up? Are we going to get the team that's aggressive from the get? Because if I see that, then I feel like okay, we're going to win because I totally agree with you as far as I think we're kind of the perfect matchup for them. This is a good matchup for Dallas because we can match them in any kind of way. I mean, we can stress their secondary. I mean, we got guys that can stress from the backfield, from the receivers, can stress their secondary, tight end. You know what I mean? Our defense, we can attack them on the edges. We got good cornerback play. We got safety. We got multiple guys we can roll against them. And like I said, I mean, and I think the biggest thing to me too is Jalen Hurts is hobbled. And that's in Dallas's favor because that threat. We always have problems with mobile quarterbacks, but whenever we play a quarterback that's more staying in that pocket, we tend to do better defensively against those type of quarterbacks. And I noticed that he wasn't running the last game. I don't know if they had to do a knee, but if that is a factor and it's going to keep him in that pocket, I think it bodes well for Dallas, especially be able to pin our ears back and to be able to attack him. They're just really going to have to focus on getting after AJ Brown because I don't want him to have one of them games where he's going he's going ape nuts and getting like 12 catches for 180 yards, dog. Because that's going to be a bad day if I see something like that happen.
And I don't think they're not the team that does that really. I mean, like when they get beat, they don't get beat because like Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's if not he's a top 5 receiver and he get caught 4 passes for 20. Well, I can't remember exactly what it was, but like in the Arizona game, it's not like in the San Francisco game, it's not like Brandon Ayuk just torched them.
Right.
Like they normally don't get beat by one player. They get beat by being, undisciplined and penalties and
right.
blown coverages. Like it's not like they get beat by a guy catching 10 balls on 12 targets for 200 yards. So I'm not really worried about that as much. Even though AJ Brown's playing out of his mind, I'm not really.
I feel what you're saying. I feel you.
Like they've
been self-inflicted wounds. We have a lot more self-inflicted wounds that cause us to lose the game more than teams beating us. A lot of times we beat ourselves with silly things.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, it's just I feel like even Eagles fans like will admit, like, yeah, our offense hasn't been great yet. Like we've had struggles being consistent. Our passing game has been struggling outside of AJ Brown. They haven't really gotten Devontae Smith going. They don't really have that third receiver. Like Dallas Goedert started off slow. So really they've relied on Jalen Hurts as a runner a lot, him hitting 2 or 3 explosive plays to win them games a lot, which they're finding success doing. That's not a knock on Jalen Hurts. Like they're not consistently hitting the easy buttons, moving the ball way down the field, punching it in. A lot of their success so far has been using him as a runner, getting the running game going a little bit, and then hitting on those 4 to 5 explosive plays a game to AJ Brown to win the games. And they've played in a lot of close games. They've played in a lot of tight games. They've played in a lot of back and forth games because of how inconsistent they've been on the offensive side of the ball and how offenses have been able to move the football against their defense, really. So it hasn't been a great dominant season from the Eagles yet, even though they still are 7-1, which I think speaks to how talented they are as a team and how good they are as a coaching staff, that they're able to not play their best ball and still win a lot of football games.
Yeah, I feel you. Let me get this quick super chat out for my dog, Dwayne Brown. He says, for my $10 holla, says, we got to be able to run the football, use Rico or Benjamin if they play zone. It's a wrap. I mean, this is a game where me and Connor kind of both agreed on this one, that this needs to be a game where we need to throw the ball. This don't need to be a game where we need to be – it's cool to run, but we need to set up the pass to run this game. And this needs to be another game where Dak Prescott is kind of like the guy. Kind of like he was the guy in that Chargers game, like he was the man. He put the team on his back. He made good plays, whether it was using his feet or his arm. I feel like that has to be this type of game as well, because I feel like our offensive tackles are going to struggle. I definitely feel like, unless, like you said, Connor, maybe Terrence Steele plays something crazy, but I think he's still not all the way back from that injury. And Hassan Reddick is playing really good football right now. And then we know in the passing game, Terrence Steele is not the greatest, so I feel like that's going to be exploited. I feel like they're going to be able to get off them edges, and Dak's got to slide in, slide out, move, run. If he does that, I feel good about the Cowboys. But I appreciate you jumping on here, Connor. It's been a long time, dog. You gave great analysts. Make sure y'all rewind this tape, because if you weren't in here early, Connor had a lot of good say, got a lot of good breakdowns about the offense, what to see. So when you're watching this offense, you can be able to see those things as well. First of all, give yourself a selfish plug. Let everybody know where they can find you, because I know you do your draft. You do a lot of things out there. I know you got a podcast going on. Please let everybody know where they can find you, Twitter, all those good things, because this guy's a good follow. He breaks down great football, especially the draft. He has his own draft book out there yearly, so you really need to check out, because he's a great breakdown guy. But let him know, Connor.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Connor NFL Draft. I actually turned in my contract today. I'm going to be writing NFL and NFL Draft for the 33rd team for the rest of the football season. So I'm excited to do that. And a lot of big names and cool insights I'll be able to share and talk with on that website now. So should be able to see my written content on the 33rd team coming up here starting in November. And then you can listen to my podcast on the Blogging the Boys podcast network, Talking the Star. But a lot of my discourse and back and forth and conversations is on Twitter, and we talk about football a lot on there at Connor NFL Draft. So just follow me on there, and we'll talk about it at some point.
Yeah, definitely talk about it. And please go follow his Twitter, because like I said, he was going ham on Mike McCarthy. Boy, it was fun. It was a good fun 3 weeks just listening to him have his rants.
He's safe for this week. I can't say much this week.
I know. I was like, boy, it would be great. Because I was like, yeah, we're gonna talk about this offense. Then the offense went crazy. I said, oh, okay, you know what? You survived this week, because he was about to peel into you, dog. When I was like, hey, Connor, come on live so we can talk about this offense. Okay, yeah, I'm about to come on here.
He must have knew I was coming on.
Hey, they got Twitter now. They be ghost watching. You know what I'm saying? They don't be saying that, Connor, but they sure be reading stuff. They just don't be saying it. But
I was gonna say, if anybody in this chat. If they ever want to tweet at somebody and be like, they don't follow you on Twitter, like they're not listening to you, that is bull crap.
Bull.
They have a lot of people who read. I'm not saying me, but like they follow a lot of people on Twitter who do this stuff, and they have scouts and they have front office officials who read people's stuff. They dive into it. They have cross checkers to make, see, hey, was what this guy tweeting about? Is this true? Like, do we need to change this up? So I think we might have bullied into some of the motion stuff this week. Whenever we don't like something, we just got to talk about it a lot, and they'll eventually get to it and change it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dog, because so many people was going ham about this offense, and it was a total switch up. I'm like, come on, dog. You can't tell me they ain't watching and reading Twitter, dog. They are reading Twitter nowadays because that offense changed in one whole damn week. Everything, and it was what's so funny about it, Connor? Everything that the people were talking about, specific things, those were the specific things that we were talking about. Those were the specific changes that happened in that game. So I'm like, woo-wee, Twitter is a mother sucker.
Me and Joey, who I do my podcast with, man, we talk about it all the time because like our show last week was like the 6 changes we want to see coming out of the bye, and like the first thing we said was more Tolbert snaps cut into Gallups, more motion. I can't remember like 5 of the 6 things we talked about. I texted him the other night, and I was like, man, we got to figure out who's listening to our show, man, because I mean they just checked them off one by one. I was like. Which obviously I'm just kidding, but no, it is. I mean, trust me, I've talked to people at the Senior Bowl and stuff before that have always, they've been like, trust me, I'll nudge. I've talked to some of the scouting department before, and I always, just mess with them because they don't know who I am, and I'll be like, hey, y'all, I know y'all follow us on Twitter, and figure out who to draft, and they're like, you say that jokingly, but we absolutely have people on staff who, might not, it might be a troll, not a troll account, but, it might be like their burner account or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they go through and see what people are talking about and see, draft, NFL, analytics, all that stuff. They want to see what, the trends are. They just, NFL nowadays, it's a copycat league, and they want to make sure that they're touching all the bases. So they're probably reading and seeing your stuff, my stuff, everybody's stuff. They just, some of the stuff they read from my account, they're probably like, what is wrong with this man?
He's like, why does he hate you so much, Mike? But hey, when it starts small and it gets it burning, it's Cowboys Twitter is very powerful. Okay, let's just keep that real. Cowboys Twitter is very powerful, and when them noises get loud with Cowboys Twitter, they're definitely listening. So we'll see how it goes going forward, and let's hope we get this victories. But I appreciate you once again taking out your time and your busy schedule. Congratulations to you as you're getting ready to do your draft with the 33rd. I mean, I follow them on Instagram as well, and they got a lot of good stuff. They're bogged down with stats, and I know you go hard with the stats, and they come thorough with them. So it's going to definitely be a good thing to read and check out. So make sure y'all follow, check them out, and all that good stuff. But without further ado, for myself, Big Game James, my dog Connor Livesay, we'll be talking to you soon. Make sure you hit the like button, follow, all that good stuff. And